say they want it? Who say they ready? See, you might not like it, but you gon' respect it, cause this is West Texas.
What's going on, boys and girls? Manny Diaz here for San Angelo Live. This is COVER1 Live, the pregame show presented by Newk's Eatery here in San Angelo, Texas. And hey, we have just a phenomenal show tonight. We have a lot of big games in the sense that, teams, we're now kind of getting the district season started, or we're underway. It's officially got underway last week with the San Angelo Central Bobcats. Unfortunately, they came up with an L against a very good Frenship team. We have a whole lot to unpack, but before we do that, in fact, let's kind of just introduce our characters here this afternoon because, man, oh man, there's a lot of folks that we're kind of bringing on the broadcast this afternoon. Trammell.
What's up? Let's do it. Hey, we haven't done a pregame show yet this year, so I figured we might as well do it right before district. Let's give the people what they want. They want to know our picks so they can call us out later when we're wrong. They love to do that. We're San Angelo Live, We're always wrong, so we're gonna find a way to be right. So I got plenty of picks. I got plenty of hot takes to give you. It's gonna be a fun week, and hopefully we can see some teams around the area get some big wins.
Absolutely. Joining us this afternoon, also the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. James Bellini. Bellini, you got to look excited to be on the show, my man.
I am excited. I did some film work for y'all last year, and now I'm coming on in a bigger capacity, and I'm excited.
Absolutely. You've been to a number of big games this week or this season. You got a big one tonight, Shiner v. Wall. We'll get to the nuts and bolts of that one. But nonetheless, you're a traveling man. You're boots on the ground. When we say boots on the ground, we're talking James Bellini. That's for sure. All right. So James Bellini for sure, kind of just bringing us all into this here. And as Matt Trammell said, we're going to give you some hot takes. So if you're watching Texas high school football very closely, like yours truly, the nerd here of San Angelo Live of all this, and especially like the other two, we're giving you some of our picks of the biggest games going on in the Little Southwest Conference and certainly West Texas. Now, the thing is, with a lot of these teams here this week, is some of them have, a lot of them, in fact, you look all across the state of Texas, have a bye week. This is their open week. So this is the kind of the week. So this is a 6 weeks, if you will. If you remember back in school, if you didn't have your grades right, well, and you're playing sports, well, this is the week that you were kind of like, it was yay or nay. So no pass, no play. So I'm assuming probably some of these programs around Texas are hoping the students are getting it right in the classroom so they can be ready for the rest of the season. But nonetheless, Matt Trammell, we have a lot of things to talk about tonight or this afternoon. Wall Shiner is certainly one of these big games that we're talking about.
Yeah, it's the Wall Hawks. They're off last week. So it's going to be exciting for them to get back on the field and play one of the team's best in the Shiner Comanches.
Yeah. One of these, now, before we kind of get into all this here, Trammell, how do you feel good about this game tonight for the Hawks?
I'm excited. This is going to be a very tough battle for Wall, and this is going to be as close as they're going to get to see somebody the caliber of someone like their district rival of the Jim Ned Indians. It's kind of, Shiner Comanche, Jim Ned Indians. They both have this big running mentality. Both have some big running backs that run hard. So this is going to give them a chance at a look for someone kind of similar to that district championship game that they might be seeing later on. So I'm excited. What about you?
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get right into this thing tonight or this afternoon, because this one is going to be a big ball game here. In fact, let's go ahead and, maybe if I can get this right here. Let's see. No, not that one. I'm wanting our angle. It's one thing when you got to produce, direct, and do a lot of other things here. Let's see. Let's get this one going here. Blah, 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 blah.
Man, we got a lot of hot takes, and we're going to start with this one. It's the Shiner Comanches. One of the things that we need to talk about is that the Wall Hawks are taking on the champs, Manny. And by the champs, I mean the brothers that are the champions. I'm talking about the Brooks brothers. There's Doug and there's Dalton. Combined, they have 979 yards in the season. That's 195 yards per game. They have 16 total touchdowns between the two of them. They each, every time they touch the rock, Manny, 7.4 yards per carry. That's right. The younger brother actually is leading the team in rushing with 495 yards and 9 touchdowns, while his brother Doug has offers from Houston, Army, Colorado State, and the University of Texas at San Antonio.
Yeah, so about this, because basically, I mean, the Brooks brothers control Shiner, and brother Doug, he's not that far off in yards from Dalton. I want to say... Yeah, so Doug has 484 yards rushing. So we're talking about less than 10 yards that separate these two guys. Doug has 7 touchdowns to Dalton's 9. I mean, these guys are just insane in what they're able to do this entire season. Trammell, well, so one thing kind of before we kind of get to the rest of this, Trammell, when you see that, what does that make you think with all that?
Could you imagine going home? I mean, personally, I don't have any brothers, right? I just have a sister, and she didn't really play sports and stuff, so we weren't that competitive. But I know families who had brothers, and I know that, even before they would go home, things were always competitive. Could you imagine being the 2 best running backs in the state right now in the 2A division, and your brothers? You go home every day like, no, I'm getting the start this week. No, I'm getting the start this week. I want this touchdown. No, I want this touchdown. I bet it's getting pretty competitive over there, but that's going to drive them to be even better. So
yeah,
I think that's pretty cool.
Without question. And if you want, I mean, we're talking. I mean, as we said, the Brooks family, the Brooks brothers control Shiner. Dalton, this guy, I mean, researching this guy over the past couple of days, he's a junior running back. He's about 6'1", $175, and he's recruited to play football on Saturdays. You're likely going to see him playing on Saturdays. He's recruited as a wide receiver athlete, plays running back right now there at Shiner. But get this, I'm just going to go down the list here, and it's a who's who of college football. Texas A&M, Arkansas, UTSA, Houston, LSU, USC, Arizona State, Alabama, Notre Dame, Georgia. I mean, Texas Tech finally jumped in the pool in that and offered Dalton Brooks last month. I'm not sure if they have a chance, but Bellini, when you see that, when you hear those names, what do you think's in store for the Hawks tonight?
It's going to be a game. They're supposed to get rain there about 7, 8 o'clock. So, and they're both run-heavy teams. It's going to be over real quick because they're going to be running the ball. And
Bellini, convince me, because honestly, I'm not really convinced. I haven't seen the Wall Hawks in person. You've seen them in person. I'm not 100% convinced that they can win this game. But convince me, as a person who wants the Wall Hawks to win, convince me that Wall's going to win.
Oh. Wall needs to be methodical. They need to keep the offense, the Shiner offense, off the field, keep them on the sidelines, and they need to run as much clock as possible. Coach Guy is always, he's been there 14 years. You don't coach at a small school that long and not have success. And
sure.
So
no, how about that?
He'll have his guys prepared.
Yeah, I mean, that's always what, as soon as I've gotten here, that was one thing is I started covering these football games, and I would ask specifically, let me go to Wall. Man, do you know why I would do that?
Why is that?
Because the game would start at 7:30 and end at 9:30, okay? I don't want to go to Central where they play until 10, 11 o'clock. I want to go and be in and out, and that's exactly what Wall needs to do. If they can do that, if they can make the game an hour and not 3 hours, maybe they'll hold the Doug's brothers to maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, those guys are insanely good. Dalton Brooks, talking with, one of the members of the Wall coaching staff over the weekend, they are, Doug, the kid's 6 foot, 260, 265 pounds, give or take. He plays defensive line. He's a huge presence, in the backfield. They're watching, they have their eye on him, but Dalton is the guy that they really have to corral because he's so shifty. He can cut on a dime. This guy, insanely athletic. There's no wonder Miami, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Auburn, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas Tech, as well as the rest of the SEC is out to get this guy.
The Ohio
State.
Yeah.
So yeah. But as for the Wall Hawks, well, I mean, I think Bellini kind of touched on it, and he said it best. They have to be methodical. Passing, Gabe Haskins, the QB1 there, 19 of 36 this season, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That passing game, it's getting a lot better. And I think it's progressing. They're known for a ground and pound. Certainly in the last few years, they've seen a lot of Dominic Garcia. He's finally a senior this year.
Yeah, man. If you look at that with Dominic Garcia, if you look 5.9 yards per carry, that's exactly what Wall needs. They don't need to have a 10-yard run. They don't need to have a 20-yard run. They need to get every single 3 to 5 yards every play. Because if they go 10, 15, if they break all these big runs, they're never going to be able to keep up with that offense. So I'm with you, man. Keep it with what this offense is starting to get that passing going. Give it to Dominic Garcia because he's been there. 5.9 yards a carry and get it going.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's certainly the case when it comes to that. It's. I mean, Wall's been tested. I mean, I'm not going to say that this is going to be just a rollover game for them against Shiner. I mean, that's not who they are. That's not in Wall's DNA. I mean, they've had some very tough opponents this season. Eastland, Cisco, Mason. That game against Cisco went into double overtime, 27-21. I wouldn't say that they handled Mason, but I mean, they did very well against them whenever they needed to. Bellini, you were a guy that's kind of seen, some big game or some big teams in that district. You saw Jim Ned last week against Snyder, and they kind of just eked past the Tigers there. What's your assessment of these two teams? Certainly, Jim Ned and Wall, big district rivals here.
Jim Ned has a bunch of returning players. That's the one thing Wall doesn't have. Wall had to rebuild their entire defense this year, so you're looking at basically new players out there, and I think it's Jim Ned's world, and we're just living in it right now. I mean, Wishart is as advertised. He runs hard, and they don't hand it to him 100 times a game. They hand it to him 20 times a game. They throw it quite a bit too. That was something I noticed. I thought this is going to be the Xavier Wishart show, and it wasn't. He really threw it more than I thought he would.
Yeah. What's the chances that this team goes out there and throws it, Manny? Do we have any looks on that? Because if I'm looking at this right, it's saying that Dalton Brooks is being recruited as a wide receiver or an athletic player. They've got to throw it a little bit to him, right?
I mean, he's just a shifty kid. You put the most. I mean, the thing is, whenever for high school athletes, you put the most explosive kids either under center, you put them in the backfield, you just find a way to give them the football. They don't do too much of the passing. I mean, that's just not who they are. Team wise, I mean, and they're going to take their time. They're going to chip away at you as you see both of those guys. I mean, they're getting pretty much equal shares of the football. Which I mean, if you're the Shiner coach, smart dude. That staff is. I mean, you got to give them credit for that. They're playing to their strengths. Offensively, 34.5 points per game. What's very interesting, defensively, their teams are only averaging about 7 points a game against these guys. So you best believe there's something that they're doing well over there. And these guys could be on a tear back to Arlington before long here as we kind of as we get into the district season for a lot of these teams. All right. Nonetheless, we do have one more game. We have a few other games to talk about too this afternoon. Trammell, let's see.
I think are we ready to get into some Bobcat action, Manny?
I say we are.
Dude, I'm really excited about this week. It's been a long time since a Central Bobcat win, 3 weeks. So I think it's about time to change some things around. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
for sure.
They got a lot of things going for them. Take it over.
So the Bobcats taking on Odessa. This is they're playing at the historic Ratliff Stadium in this one here tonight. Usually when we get all excited when they go to Ratliff because it's usually playing against Permian, but this week is a little different. Primarily, because the Bobcats. Well, they're coming off 2 just a tough loss against the Frenship Tigers last week. And the big question is, where in the world is the Central defense? A la Carmen Sandiego from the 90s. Defensively, the struggles have been real. Rushing yards allowed, over 1,200 yards. Rushing yards a game. This is what teams are averaging per game against the Bobcats. Almost 250 yards against Amarillo Tascosa. The Central defense gave up over 500 yards. Fumbles recovered, they only have one. That has to change. For the Frenship QB1, Ferries last week, 22 of 188, 22 carries for 188 yards, 5 touchdowns, 300 total team yards for the Frenship Tigers last week in 40 carries. I mean, if you're looking to win a football game, you've got to be able to stop somebody. On the other hand of that, for the Odessa Broncos this week, if these guys, we'll get into these guys in a little bit talking about what they do offensively, but if you're looking to kind of do something against the Bobcats, you may want to look into running the football, because that could probably do some good against these guys tonight. So Newk's our proud presenter of this pregame show this afternoon.
Manny,
man.
I tell you what, you're right on the money with that one. Central Bobcat defense is invisible. Where are they?
Yeah.
We're talking arm tackles. We're talking not 11 hats to the football. We're talking about no coordination in the secondary. We're talking about front seven getting ran all over. It's been a rough couple weeks. I mean, 13-45 loss, 28-46 loss, 32-49 loss. The defense in the last 3 weeks has given up over 45 points, and it's progressively gotten worse.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign. Luckily, this is, of course, the worst team that they're going to be playing, the team who finished the last place in the district last year. But do not let that fool you. Manny, they got a new head coach. They're throwing the football. They are getting this thing going. Through 5 games, they're scoring 38.5 points. They're a spread offense, passing the ball with 311 yards.
We're talking
a game.
Odessa High here?
Yeah, Odessa High, passing 311 yards a game and rushing for 157 yards a game. So that's over 500 yards a game, and near 40 points a game. This team can score. We know Centrals can score too, but can their defense stop them? Bellini, what do you think?
Anybody who was a Cowboy fan last year saw what a defense that's not playing well looks like, So if you can't stop anybody, you're just you can't be a race. You have to stop someone. You have to have your team playing well, and I just don't know where the Central's at. I don't know where their defense is at.
Yeah, I know last week they had a few guys out, on the defensive side of the ball, which did not. It doesn't help whenever you're going up against some pretty athletic guys. Frenship, they're not the greatest team in the world, but they have some athletes on that team that made Central's life absolutely miserable defensively, and they took advantage of it, as rightfully they should. It would be dumb for them not to, but I tell you what, the hot seat for the Central defensive coordinator, Trim, I know you're about hot takes.
I'll ride it. Okay, so last week after the COVER1 show, we had a couple messages, not saying any names or anything like that, but there were people that were messaging into the COVER1 messages, and they were talking about there was some mummers around the stands. Now I would never talk about another man's job, but supposedly people are talking and saying that the Central defensive coordinators might be on the hot seat. He hasn't, shown the best numbers here of recent. So I guess maybe if any game there is to turn that around, it might be against these Odessa Broncos. Yeah. What do you think, man?
They have got to turn it around this week. I think this is a must-win for the Bobcats. Just because they got to get on the board in the district season. Next week it's against Midland High. Midland High has proven to be no slouch. I wouldn't say that they're officially back, but this is a pretty darn good football team tonight. They're going to have to rely a lot. There's going to have to be a lot of Sammy Navarrete. There's going to have to be a lot of Tyler Hill. Rushing-wise, Bobby Boucher, Sammy Navarrete, this guy's been carrying the Bobcats. Last week, 18 carries, 125 yards, 1 touchdown. Tyler Hill, 11 carries, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. If you look at that, there's 30 carries between the two. There's Samuel Navarrete and Tyler Hill. So, they're going to need some help this week.
And they're not throwing the ball bad either, Manny. And but they got to really open it up down the field. 14 for 25, 230, 2 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns for Tyler Hill. But they need to be up in that 275, 300 range. And I think those 2 interceptions probably take you out of that. Of course, some of those, are unforced errors. But some of those were, probably his fault. So I'm saying maybe take the turnovers, take a little bit second, try to expand down the field, try to throw the ball, try to at least get on that 275, 300 yards a game level, or else you're never going to keep up with your running game and keep up with their ability to score. I think that the Central Bobcats have a really good chance of winning this week, but if their defense does not show up, it's not going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah, no doubt. Tyler, you were talking about Tyler Hill, and this guy has to show up this week. I think he has to put some yard. I mean, he has to put this thing in the air. Has to do fairly well in the passing game. Trevor Scott, this guy. I mean, he balled out of control last week. 6 receptions, 119 yards, 1 touchdown. Got to see a guy like him step up. Got to see a guy like Jacob English. Perhaps, mix in a little bit of Adam Robles in there. Why not? I mean, even the box kid. There's a lot of different weapons on this team. Central has to find a way to do something offensively this week because, the defense has just been struggling. Offensively, they got to find something going on with that, Trim.
Defensive line's got to make some sacks, got to make some plays up front. Manny, you noted to it earlier, 1 fumble for the season. That is completely terrible for the season.
Mm-hmm. 1, yeah.
So, yeah, that's not very good. And that starts with your front 4 right there, your front 3, your front 7. Those are the guys that are going to get the majority of your fumbles, and most of them are going to be from running backs carrying the ball or quarterbacks in the backfield. And if you're not getting that pressure back there and you're not making them feel it, you're never going to be able to get those turnovers that you need. And as we all know, as tight as every game is in the Little Southwest Conference, those turnovers can make or break your season.
Right, yeah. I know you talked a little bit about, you shed some light on that Odessa passing game and how they do a few things with that. But I tell you, rushing, they're pretty balanced, certainly between 2 guys. Now, there's 2 guys to really watch for tonight. QB1, Diego Cervantes, and senior running back Javante Dels. Cervantes has on 53 carries this season, 330 yards, about 11 touchdowns rushing this season. His longest, 71 yards. Javante Dels, this kid also balling at it, doing fairly well. 65 carries, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns. They're up in that 5 to 6 yards per carry whenever they have the football in their hands. So I know, Trammell, we were talking about, what this Bobcats, they're going to have to defend the pass, but man, that Odessa running game doesn't look too shabby.
Yeah, definitely. I saw a piece over the summer, and it was one of the very first 2-a-day pieces that was put on the new Odessa Broncos team. And the one thing I really took away was that the coach, he's really trying to instill some culture change over there. He's tired of being a loser, and he's tired of everyone telling Odessa that they're just going to be the losers. So I wouldn't expect him to just come out here and lay down. They're gonna fight. If it's not just a run and play or a pass and play, it doesn't really matter if they're on defense or offense. I think that the Central Bobcats are going to have to play every single down with these guys.
Bellini, what do you think has to happen for the Bobcats to pull out the dub tonight?
They might have to pull off what Wall does and be methodical to keep your defense protected. Your best defense is your offense, so keep your offense out there and eat away at them. 4 yards is a good play,
Yeah.
4 yards is a good play. So take what you can, and someone has to step up, though. Someone has to step up, whether it's McNutt or whatever. Someone has to step up on defense.
Yeah, without question. All right, Trammell, let's get into our final game. This is probably, right now, these two teams, the front runners in District 2-6A of the Little Southwest Conference, that is Abilene High, Midland Legacy. Abilene High, these guys played very well against Odessa Permian last week, and rightfully so. These guys they did awesome in a sense that it was time. It was a must. I wouldn't call it a must win, but it was a win that kind of just shook some trees.
In my opinion, it was a win that set them out. But the real question is this thing going to be the district championship game, or is Abilene High pretenders or contenders, Manny? So This is basically going to be the time that Abilene's going to turn the corner. They're on a 3-game winning streak since going 0-2, and their last loss against Abilene Cooper at the historic
the historic Ratliff.
They're at Ratliff, yeah.
Or no. Shotwell Stadium in
Shotwell,
Abilene.
yeah. Shotwell's in Abilene, excuse me, folks. All right, anyways, there's 248 rushing yards against Mojo last week. Their rushing leader, DK Thomas, he had...
The King,
that's right. The King Thomas, 21 carries, 175 yards for 2 touchdowns. Now, we've all discussed this, and we feel that the key to win this game is they have to control the clock because, of course, they got some other cats on the other side of the ball that's pretty dang good.
Yeah. Midland Legacy is doing some things that's pretty sharp for sure.
So, Manny, let me ask you, what do you think? Pretenders or contenders?
Well, if you're asking me with this, I really like what Abilene High is doing right now. I think with the King's guy, he got hurt in the game against Amarillo Tascosa. Did not play against. He didn't play against Abilene Cooper. I don't believe he played against Cedar Park Vista Ridge. So the last 2 games against Grand Prairie and Odessa Permian, this is when he's kind of got the wheel going for him. And finally, and in fact, we'll enlighten you in a little bit of this here, because folks, this is kind of what it's about for them. Look at this. I mean, the King Thomas. In 3 games, 124 yards point. He's averaging right around 125 yards a game, 374 total yards, 5 touchdowns. The longest run we saw last week was against Odessa Permian, 52-yard touchdown. Somebody from the Abilene Booster Club called us out, said it was not a trick play. That was just by design. Okay, it looked like Statue of Liberty to me, but nonetheless.
A trick can be played.
Yeah. But nonetheless, on the other side of the ball, this is why the King Thomas, that guy's got to be a leader. But here's why the Warbirds have to be methodical, and it's because a cat named McKylan Young this season. I mean, through 5 games this season, 4 games, 775 yards, 13 touchdowns, 127 carries. I mean, look at that. He's almost averaging 195 yards a game. 3 100-yard rushing games. Man, this kid is crazy good, and the thing is, 14 carries before he left the game against Amarillo Tascosa, 14 carries, 448 yards, 1 touchdown. And he's progressively got better. The last 2 starts against Grand Prairie, 19 carries, 129 yards, 2 touchdowns. Against Permian, they amped it up just a few more carries, 22 carries, 197 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I think if they let that kid get loose tonight, man, it's going to be a long night for Legacy. On the other hand, if Abilene lets the Black Shirts allow McKylan Young to get loose, boy, howdy, watch out for that. So it's going to be a good game tonight. But I tell you one thing, there are some other playmakers for Legacy. Marcus Davila, the QB1, sophomore QB1, 6'4", 198 pounds. He's a baseball player. This dude, not too shabby. 52 for 76 on the season so far. Almost 800 yards passing, 6 touchdowns. The guys he's looking for, Chris Brazil, 22 for 236 yards receiving, 4 touchdowns. Nate Suttle, he's a senior wideout, 6'2", 165 pounds, 9 catches, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that Legacy offense, we talk a lot about McKylan Young, but they are stacked, Trammell.
Yeah, Manny, you raise, but guess what? I'll call. You want to talk about the Midland Legacy quarterback? I got one that'll just go right for you. His name is Abel Ramirez. That's the quarterback one for the Abilene Warbirds. And last week, this kid's a dual threat quarterback right here. 10 for 16, 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then he carried the ball 14 times, 30 yards and another 2 touchdowns. So 4 total touchdowns on the night. He pretty much rode his team to victory against Mojo last week. I'm telling you, with this 2 right here, this is a combo, or not a combo, but more of a duo that will be able to run all over any team. And so if the Midland Legacy Rebels do not show up tonight, or even show up and just give a little bit of like... this will be an easy game. Just a little bit of, what's the word that I'm thinking of? Complacency. They might get smoked tonight, Manny.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Now, defensively, I mean, if you're an Abilene High fan or if you're just following the Little Southwest Conference, defensively, they held Permian to just 99 yards rushing last week. So that should give you something to feel good about, which for the nerds like us, that makes us feel really good in terms of maybe this will be a ball game against Legacy. I don't know. And the rushing defense this season, they're giving up about 200 yards, almost 200 yards a game. Bellini, when you see these stats, when you see these guys, how much fun do you think this is going to be to watch this game tonight?
It's going to be a blast. Mikhail Young has almost 800 yards on the ground. I mean, we're going to take some of these running backs and look at them. The Brooks brothers, Wishart, Young, and what's the King Thomas? Those are guys that are running all over teams this year.
West Texas, baby. Who said they won it?
Who said they ready?
That's right.
So yeah, I'm excited about it. Let's I don't know. I'm going to ask the Brooks brothers whether they got a nil deal from a Brooks brothers.
Yeah, well, the UIL hasn't quite allowed that just yet, but who knows? I mean,
Graduate early.
Dalton Brooks, I mean, who knows he can pull a Quinn Ewers on us and graduate early. So, hey, Kathy Diebel-Ward asking us, is the game being streamed tonight? Unfortunately, the game
Which game is that?
The Central Odessa High game. That one is not being I'm not sure if it is being streamed from Odessa, but if you want to watch highlights, you want to catch things as they happen, hey, you can always watch us here on Cover1 Live right here on SanAngeloLive.com. Soon as things happen, we're going to give you the goods. We're going to make things happen for you. So stick with us. You can catch all the action, get live updates. None of our game highlights are live, but man, we get them out pretty quick.
But they are pretty dang instant. We're talking within minutes, guys. We have perfected the way to receive highlights. We're faster than anyone I've ever seen. I mean, you can't. No one gets highlights this fast unless you're like ESPN. I mean, come on. We're talking about 100 miles away in a place with no cell phone reception, and we're getting instant highlights, man.
Yeah.
I'm talking as soon as we score a touchdown, about 2 or 3 minutes later, y'all are seeing it. So y'all definitely come and watch the show. It'll be a good one this week.
Absolutely. All right, hey Trammell, let's. How about we get into our picks for this week?
Let's do some picks. Yeah, we've talked enough. Let's put our money where our mouth is. And let's pick them.
Let's start with Fabens and Lakeview, and because this one, why not? Let's just get it started.
Yeah, Fabens and Lakeview, Lakeview's homecoming. We can't forget about that. Can't forget about the boys in the north. So we got a couple of people's picks here. We'll start with Bellini. Bellini, who'd you got in this one?
I got Fabens in this one.
Ooh,
I think I got Fabens in this one.
You like Fabens, so.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't know a lot about Fabens, so.
Did you like Fabens or you just didn't like Lakeview?
I didn't like Lakeview.
Put him on the spot.
Hey, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I'll eat crow. I will gladly eat crow. Prove me wrong.
So Trammell also picked Fabens. That is also one of the boats that I'm riding with Bellini. Not that I do not think that Lakeview can win this game, because I've played Fabens in high school, and they're very, very not a very good program. So, but here's the scenario, Manny.
What you got?
It's Lakeview. It's their homecoming. It's going to be raining. That just has a Lakeview losing upset all over it. So I got Fabens in this one. What do you got, Manny?
Man, you know what? I tell you what, I really like Lakeview to kind of step up in a sense with this. I think they got what it takes to pull out the win. They did so pretty well last week against Brownfield. Heck, why not make it 2 in a row? It's homecoming. You're back in the friendly confines of San Angelo Stadium. Do some work, Chiefs. LV tonight. Trammell, you're setting the line at 42.5. Lakeview, the Chiefs, they got to do something tonight.
What do you think? 42.5. That's pretty generous. It's a pretty low number. You had two people siding with you on that, Joe and Sonia. But me and James, we had Tracy and Yantis go with Fabens. The line's at 42.5. Manny, you think you got the over or the under?
Man, I'm gonna take the under on that one.
The under.
I'm gonna take the under. So I know what you're gonna take. You always just go against what I pick.
What do you think, James?
I'll just gonna take the under on that. Yeah, I'll take the under.
The under?
I'll take the under, yeah.
All right. Well, guys, I guess we'll see who wins that one.
All right, next one, Shiner v. Wall. Trammell, break it down.
All right. Well, as y'all see, there was not a lot of people here that believes in the Wall Hawks. There's one member of the San Angelo Live team that does, and that's Joe Hyde. That's right. He believes that the Wallhawks can upset the reigning state champion Shiner Comanches. I, on the other hand, do not. Manny, you do not. James, you do not. Who wants to start?
James, why don't you kick this one off here?
I'm going to Fredericksburg tonight to film this game. So,
Oh, you might get some hate. You should win for them because you
Well,
might
you
get
know
some
what?
get yelled at or flipped off in the parking lot.
you know what? I will gladly eat crow, man. I will gladly do it. Prove me wrong. It comes down to Wall just being basically a brand new team, and they're playing the defending state champs in Shiner, who, I mean, they look unstoppable on the ground. So
Yeah, no, I would agree. Those Brooks brothers, Dalton and Doug, if those guys, I mean, if I wasn't here, Bellini, I'd love to go see those guys. I mean, just for being a fanatic of the sport of Texas high school football, I bet Dalton Brooks is just going to be a treat to watch tonight. Probably that Wall defense is thinking otherwise. It's like, gosh, how long do we got to be on the field when these guys are there? But on the other hand of things, the Wall team, they've been up against some pretty good kids in the past. I mean, if I was a betting man, the 42.5, obviously not. We'll put a Topo Chico on the line. But
So
I would think they're ready. They're ready to go against a team like that.
Just since you're a bet man, Manny, I put the line set. It was over under at 47.5 now. Gave him 5 more points than the Chiefs. Guys, what are y'all's thoughts? Over under?
Yeah. Bellini,
I've been taking the under on that one. And y'all are going to want an interview with Coach Guy when this game's over. So if I'm wrong, I'll hear about it. I'll hear about it.
Bellini takes the under. Manny, what about you? 47.5.
Man, I'm gonna take the over in that one. I think it's.
You think it's got a little more excitement than what
I
we
think
did?
it does, and I think it may be a little bit more excitement shifted in the direction of the Shiner Comanches. But who knows? I mean, things happen. It's Texas high school football, that's for sure.
All right, next game.
All right, so next one we got here is Permian and Frenship.
We got a little bit of split action here.
Yeah, the office is very split on this.
But once again, me and James, we're gonna stick with the mojo time, Manny.
Mojo Magic.
Mojo Magic, as they call it. The Panthers, dude, they look really good, and I know the Tigers beat Central last week, but unfortunately, they beat Central last week. Mojo's coming off a very, very embarrassing loss to Abilene High, and I think they're going to have a little chip on their shoulder. We saw when the Bobcats did run a good offense, it was through running the ball, and that's all Mojo's going to do. So I actually think that Mojo's going to pull this one out, and I set the line at
59.5.
59.5.
Wow. Trammell, that's the line right there. That's, I mean, we're thinking, Frenship, they put up almost 50 points last week on the Bobcats. I think that line's pretty true. I would say let's go over on that.
Oh, we're going to have a little fun. Now, Manny, you picked the Tigers. Why did you pick the Tigers?
I like the Tigers because they kind of had their way with the Bobcats last week. Permian struggled with Abilene High. And certainly Permian struggled with that running game of Abilene High. That Frenship QB1, Ferries, that guy, he's a big play waiting to happen. I'm not sure if Permian has what it takes to contain him and that rushing offense. Bellini, what do you think?
I'll take the under. I'll go against you. Take the under there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you certainly like Permian.
I do like Permian. I don't know. Yeah, Frenship might be riding high of the win last week, but I think Permian's going to get this one.
Okay. All right. Trammell, this big game this week. That should be fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely so. So you want to get let's just keep on rolling here.
All right, the next one.
Are we going to the leg?
Yeah.
That's right. We're just keeping it in order. I think you did this on purpose, man. I feel like we have a crescendo of points that we're going to be scoring. This one's going to be high scoring. Once again, the office is split, but everybody in here is kind of on the agreeal, except for your boy. I'm gonna ride the wave. We're going to the Abilene Eagles 2 weeks in a row. Go Warbirds! Over under set at 66 points, Manny.
Woo! I tell you, why not? Why not? McKylan Young, that's Midland Lee offense. if they can get going, not discrediting the black shirts of Abilene High, but man, oh man, there are so many weapons on that legacy team. And I always like the underdog. And
Dude,
I love the underdog story tonight.
well, then you got to go with the other side of the ball.
I'm putting a Topo Chico on the line.
All right, because
I
last
gotta
week,
go with the Rebels.
I think it was bullcrap last week because I was the only one that picked the Eagles, and that happened. So I got to keep it riding. They went off. They've been too impressive coming off a big win against Mojo. There's no way they lose this football game, Manny. Topo Chico on it.
Yeah, but I will say this: if there's a team that can knock off Legacy, it's these Abilene High Eagles. These guys hungry for a dub. Especially, they're playing at Shotwell Stadium, their home turf. Why not? If
their running back's going to show you who the king is. Who the king is, Manny.
So, if there's an upset of upsets tonight, it's Abilene High, Midland Legacy. But nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be safe, and I'm going to take Legacy tonight. Bellini, give me your thoughts on your take tonight.
Yeah, same thing. I'm taking Legacy in this one. Kylan Young, if they let him get away and start running away with it, it's going to be a long night. But Abilene, yeah, I think this is going to be kind of the de facto district championship.
Yeah.
This is a big game. This is an important one for the district here.
For sure. Hey, thanks to Cody Broadway for tuning in this afternoon. We appreciate you joining us on COVER1 Live here on SanAngeloLive.com. We're breaking down some of the big games. In fact, this one you see here, Midland Legacy, Abilene High. Trammell going in with the over 66. I'm gonna say, Trammell, did we already talk about this one here?
Under? Y'all didn't take it. Y'all haven't picked,
I'm gonna go ahead and take the under. I like the under with this here.
You like controlled score. You don't like controlled chaos.
I don't think it's gonna get that chaotic, but I think it's gonna be under that one. Bellini, what do you got?
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of rushing in this game. I think it's gonna be under.
Under. Okay.
Oh man. All right. Well, one last game, and you guys know what it is. It's not going to be at San Angelo Stadium. It's going to be down in Odessa. It's the Central Bobcats taking on the Odessa Broncos. There was 2 people in the office that did not take the freaking Bobcats. James, you're one of them.
Hey,
what happened?
Prove me wrong. As a Cowboy fan last year, I know it's like when you're giving up 200 yards on the ground, your defense can't take it time after time. What Marshawn Lynch say, people can't take getting run into over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And if you can't stop the run, if you can't stop the pass, and we haven't really seen much that would inspire confidence from Central to do that. Wow, I want to be proven wrong, though. Prove me wrong. I would love to be proven wrong.
Strong words from a strong man, Captain Insano James Bellini.
So here's the only reason I have to just counter you on this. I am very high on the Odessa Broncos. I ate my lunch last week when I had them against Midland, and I lost that one. Midland High, not Midland Legacy, but this is a different team than even Midland was. This is a better team than the Midland Bulldogs. Midland rolled this team. The Bobcats are hungry for a win. They've shown that they can already win hard games. They went to El Paso and had to play like 8 hours because of the rain delays and all kinds of stuff in the drive. And they know that they can win games. We've seen them win games. I think this is going to be maybe the last one. So I'm going to go ahead and secure this one up for my lock of the season because this is definitely the game that Central is the last game that Central for sure can win.
Stone cold pick from Matt Trammell. Trammell, I agree with you. You and I, we sometimes we don't see eye to eye a lot on this show, but I agree with you 100%. Primarily because down the stretch of the rest of the way of this schedule, we're looking Midland High next week for the Bobcats, followed by Midland Legacy, Odessa Permian, Abilene High. This thing is extremely back heavy. It's loaded in the back end of the schedule for the Cats. If they don't find ways to get wins that they're supposed to win, games that they're supposed to win, yikes, it gets out of hand real crazy. Trammell, you're setting this line at 70.
70,
over
man.
Under 70.
Yeah, I think this is the chance for the Bobcats to actually air this thing out and get this thing going. Get Tyler Hill his first chance. Like I said, when the takes. Give Tyler Hill his first chance to get over like 350 yards. Let him throw that thing. Let him scorch this team. Because that will boost his confidence going on. And if they can do that and they can score a lot of points, I think it's going to be hopefully momentum change for the rest of the season for the Bobcats.
I couldn't agree with you more. Bellini, tell us why you're rolling with the Cats, or no, why you're rolling with the Broncos this week, and if you agree on the over/under.
I don't know if Odessa could put up 70 points in a game, but it's just the defense, man. Your defense isn't playing well. That's why I'm going Odessa.
Over/under.
I'm going to go under, though.
Under 70?
Yeah.
All right, Manny, did you say over or under?
I said I'm going to go under. I don't think these teams can get to that, but who knows? Who knows?
All right. Well, that's our picks for the week. Remember, guys, stay tuned. We're going to have the best high school coverage, basically the Texas High School Red Zone, right here tonight on COVER1. Coverage is going to start about 7:30. We're going to have highlights from Central. We're going to have highlights from Wall. We're going to have highlights from Midland League.
Yeah, it's pretty much all over the little Southwest Conference tonight.
And more. We're going to have some scores. We have so much. Y'all go ahead and check it out. Just remember, SanAngeloLive.com. This is COVER1. This has been the pregame show. Manny Diaz, James Bellini, Matt Trammell. It's been fun. We'll see y'all here in a little bit.
Who say they want it? Who say they ready? See, you might not like it, but you gon' respect it, cause this is West Texas.